My name is Dr. Jerry Masarira. I am a naturopath doctor and also a certified brain injury specialist. I also graduated as a pharmacy technician, and our presentation today is about your brain, how your brain works, and I'll give you some details, but it won't be very complicated for a layman to understand. What I want you to understand is that your brain is too complex to understand. Now, if you lose your brain, you lose who you are, because we are what our brain depicts us. Now, your brain is who you are. Because of that reason, your brain records the information you come across. It also understands what is called love, and it also understands hate. It also understands what is called forgiveness. As a mystery is something which you will never understand. It doesn't matter how much we learn about the brain. We are not God. We just study how it works. Now, in your brain, there's what is called the reticular activation system. In short, it's RAS, R-A-S. Now, RAS is a switch in your brain. It occurs at one of the two times only. The first one is when you are emotionally charged, and the second one is when you relax. Here's what I want you to understand. When you are emotionally charged, you are in a situation where you want to fight or you want to run away, what is called flight mode. When that happens, the RAS switch shuts down your cerebral cortex. This is your learning brain. Because of that, the CC, or the cerebral cortex, shuts down. And then when you shut down, you proceed to automatic pilot. Let me zero in on that part. The automatic pilot is when you use your previous experience and training to function at a situation. Same as pilots when they fly an aeroplane from Germany to Joburg, they don't sit and hold the steering all the way because it's a long distance, they get tired. Somehow they let go of the steering, he can read the Bible or his book as the plane is going. The same thing happens when your CC shuts down, you proceed to automatic pilot. That means you're no longer in control of what is happening. Your brain is just operating on the previous experience of the person you are talking to. If he was an abusive person, you tend to look at him that way. You no longer reason. If he's a good person, you look at him that way. You no longer reason. Your ways of communication depends on what you have learned about that person. Here's what I want you to understand. Now, when your instinct and training takes over, that is exactly what I've explained. When your instinct and training takes over, now, there is what is called the limbic system. It is a set of brain located under the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex, then below it, there's the limbic system. Here's what happens. This one is involved in motivation and emotions. The next thing is when this limbic system shuts down because of relaxation or removal of threats, the RAS switch switches the CC, or the cerebral cortex, back on. This is your learning brain. Now, this allows creativity and the logic to return back to normal functions. When that happens, the RAS is responsible to many switches. One of the switches is your muscular activity. The fact that your muscles can work without anyone giving its instruction, it is the switches which do that. and also your sleeping and waking up. The fact that you can sleep and wake up without anyone giving instructions, it is those switch from the RAS which does that. You also your environmental sounds. When you hear some sounds within your area and you can tell that is a breeze because of the wind which is blowing, the fact that you're able to identify those are your environmental sounds, and also your environmental aroma. The fact that you are in a place which is like a trash place, you can smell that there is bad smell because you're at a place where trash is thrown away. That understanding only, it is because of the RAS switch. Now, you can also be able to have what is called the temperature and humidity switch, where you can feel the cold or the hotness of the area where you are or the change of weather. Those are the switches from the RAS switch. Now, the other thing, you can sense danger, interest, or opportunity. All those are switches from the RAS switch. When you are walking in the bush, you suspect maybe there's somebody who's hiding. That kind of attention and sense of danger, it is because of the RAS switch. Now, you might also be able to identify the environmental light. At night, you see the moonlight. The fact that you're able to identify that is the moon which is lighting or a car which is coming, those are switches which identify the environmental light. Now, even what you have eaten, you can eat a mango, you can eat an orange. The fact that you are able to identify that this is an orange, those are switches from the RAS. Also, if you have been abused or you have been angered, there is the recency of stressful times. The fact that you remember it was last week when I was abused, it was last week when I was beaten. The fact that the brain records, it is because of those switches. Now, there is what is called synapse. I want you to understand to this point. This is where the neurons or nerve cells connect with one another. Here's what's important. It is composed of a main cell body. Now, there are two branches, one coming in and the other going out. Those two branches, they act as links with one another. Here's the most important thing. The outgoing branch is called the axon. I want you to listen to the sound of the word axon. The outgoing branch is called axon because it sounds like it acts on. That means whenever information gets to this branch, the axon which acts on, it sends messages out of the branch. Now, the branch which received the information from the axon which acts on the information it would have received, when the axon sends the information out, it sends to the branch which is called the dendrites. Here's how it sounds. This is what I've been doing in college so that I can be able to make sense of any term. It sounds like this is where it ends right. When it says dendrite, it sounds like it ends right. Axon, it acts on. I give you these rhymes so that you can be able to remember. Now, let's go to the next one. There are neurons. Each neuron connects to other 100 neurons. It will take us hundreds and hundreds of years to count synapses in the cerebral cortex alone. Here's what I want you to understand. Learning, just like what you're doing right now as you're listening, learning is establishing new neuron networks. I told you we have hundreds and hundreds of years to count synapses in the cerebral cortex alone. Now, when you learn something, you are establishing a new network. Right now, as you're learning, if it is your first time to understand about brain, your brain is already establishing a new network on brain. Now, these have synaptic connections. I want you to understand this because new synapses appear after learning something new. The moment you learn something new, the new synapse comes out. Yes, what I want to understand also, a special language is formed and filed in the brain. When you learn something, a special language is formed and it is filed in the brain. There is the alphabet of the physiological language, which is composed of over 200 ligands. That's the alphabet of the brain. It is alphabet which is composed of over 200 ligands. Now, ligands are secreted by nerve cells, immune cells, and other cells. So ligands is the language which is secreted by cells. Here is also what I want you to follow. They are like letters of the alphabet with words corresponding to behaviors. Let me explain this part. The fact that you are able to see that somebody is angry and that somebody is smiling and somebody is happy and somebody is laughing, that was embedded in your brain long back as you were learning and as the new neuron networks were being established. The first time you saw an angry person when we were young, and you grew up understanding if mommy is smiling, that means she's happy. If mommy is angry, that means she's not happy. The fact that you're able to identify those were ligands, the words which were embedded in your brain according to the behaviors. Now, next is they create two broad categories. The very first one, it is two, excitation and or activation. That's the very first one. The second one is inhibition. What happens is when one neurotransmitter activates sleep, the other will inhibit it. Here's what happens. If you drink milk, it will trigger the release of melatonin and serotonin neurotransmitters that activate sleep. If you drink milk, normally it will make you sleep because it triggers the melatonin and serotonin neurotransmitters. Now, but if you eat chocolate or drink coffee, it will then interfere with sleep. That's the reason why people who do night shift, they prefer drinking coffee so that they don't sleep. What they don't know is they're actually inhibiting the neurotransmitters, melatonin and serotonin, so that you don't sleep. That is the inhibition level. Now, your brain has sides. Put it this way. You have two sides of your brain. If your head is cut in half between your eyes, just like this, if somebody cuts your head in between your eyes, going toward the back, it will create the left side and the right side of the brain. Suppose that happens. Now, when that happens, the left side, which is your right side on my left side, it controls the right side of the brain. The left side of the brain, my left side, which is your, as you're looking at me, it is your right side, but this is my left side. Your left side my left side controls my right side of the body. That is why I am right-handed. Now, the other thing is the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. That is why some of us are left-handed. Now, Here's what I want to understand. If one is involved in a car accident and is taken to the hospital for treatment, I want you to understand this. This is very important because sometimes you get confused when our loved ones, they're involved in an accident, and sometimes we have a problem in communicating with them. Here's what happened. The person might be paralyzed on the right side of the body. Don't forget I said the left side controls the right side and the right side controls the left side of the body. When the person is paralyzed on the right side of the body, as you have already understood, it is the left side which has been hit hard, not the right side. Because the left side of the brain is the one which controls the right side. So if somebody is paralyzed and cannot raise the right leg or right hand, it is the left. If you look on his head, it is the right head side, the left side which has been hit hard. Now, because of that, when that happens, I've already mentioned that is the left side which has been hit hard, not the right side. The left controls the right side and the right controls the left side. The right brain is for language. I want you to understand this. I don't want to miss this. The right brain, this side, which is your, when you're looking at me, it's like your left side. It's right. Now, the right brain is for the language and for logic and for interpretation and for addition and multiplication, which is called arithmetic. Because of that, your left brain, this left, which is on which you, if you look at me, it looks like the right, this left side of mine. The left brain is for geometry, non-verbal processes, and visual pattern and recognition of faces and lines. Now, the auditory discrimination and the spatial skills relating to position, area, and size of things. The fact that you are able to hear somebody speaking and somebody crying and a lion roaring, the fact that you are able to identify and discriminate the auditory differences, it's because of your left brain. Now, here's what I want you to understand. The spatial skills which relate to position, area, and size of things, it is the left brain which examines details. The right brain looks at the big picture. Now, after the accident, now that I've given you a background, after the accident, one of the body functions might not work. If one is unable to speak, it is the right side that deals with the language. So if you are talking to your loved one in a hospital bed and you want to talk to them and they're not able to speak, look at their right side of the head. That is one which has been affected most. That's why they are not able to speak. The right side deals with language. Now, sometimes numbers are also forgotten. Somebody cannot count 1, 2, 3. I work at a hospital where I deal with people with brain injury. Sometimes they can't even count numbers. Here's what I want to understand. When it comes to spatial skills, which deals with the area, like what I've mentioned before, males or men, we use the right side of the brain when it comes to spatial skills. Males, we use the right side. But females, they use both sides. That means they use the right and the left. Only men use the right side. Female use both. I will explain why sometimes we have problems. That is why women can cook and they can deal with a crying baby and they speak on a cell phone and they still can sweep the room all at the same time without having any problem at all. The problem with men will cook but not hear the baby crying. Then you'll be surprised. The baby is crying and you are busy cooking. It's not that men are careless. It's by nature their brain makeup is only one space which they have to use limitedly to accommodate other things. Don't be surprised when a man is cooking and then the baby cries, or when he attends the baby crying and the food is burning on the stove. Don't be surprised. By nature, we have one side which we are using. Now, because of that, men deal with the emergencies. By nature, that's what we are. Men concentrate on one thing and get focused. Now, men do not get overwhelmed with many things or become emotional. Men don't become emotional. We do here and there, but by nature, men don't become emotional like women. It's not their fault, nor is it our fault. It's our makeup. Men do not act as fast as expected by their wives when asked to fix things. They don't. Here's what happens. Their minds deal with priorities first. They deal with threats first and then needs. That is why if something happens, if somebody knocks at the door and it sounds like it's an enemy, it's the man who stands up in most cases. Because by nature, we are wired to deal with emergencies, priorities, and threats. Now, fixing a kitchen door is not a threat or a need. It is maintenance. Now, to a woman, a kitchen door is her world. When she needs it fixed, she needs it because it makes noise. When she works in the kitchen, it goes krr, krr. It irritates her. She wants it to be fixed. But to a man, that's maintenance, not an emergency. Now, she gets annoyed with an answer from a man. I will fix it. And there is no definite date. The man does not want to get committed. When he says, I will fix it, he's going to fix it. But he's not going to tell you a time because of his limited schedule. The brain does not accommodate everything. It's by nature, it's how we behave. Now, to a man, a kitchen door is a number 2 on his to-do list. That's where he has put it without you knowing it. To make matters worse, the number 1 on the list is his broken bicycle. Now, the wife does not understand why he spends time on an old broken bicycle. The wife does not understand that. Women need to understand that they should not get stressed, but to understand the biological makeup differences. Now, when men fight in boxing or in the streets, they concentrate on the task of fighting before them. They rarely make noise. They fight. On the other end, when the women fight, they shout, they cry, and they make noise at the same time. It's because they have enough space in their brain to do all that. Don't forget I said there's special skills. They use two sides of the brain. Men use only one side. That's the reason. A lot of life problems could easily be solved with this basic understanding. Some of the issues we have in families is because we don't have an understanding of this basic understanding. Why is it I've sent my husband to do this and on his way from the groceries, he stopped and spoke to the boys? It's because that is his priorities. Now, here's the conclusion of the whole matter. Here's what I want you to understand. How you use your brain will build or destroy you. Now, Your brain is what defines you. Your plans, your life, your intentions, your future, and all your decisions. Now, spend time starting new neuron pathways through learning. We use very little space of our whole brain, very little. You'll be surprised. You cannot fill up your brain. You cannot. Here's the reason why you cannot fill up your brain. God created us to live for eternity, and our brain is capable of living for eternity. So your brain right now is empty. Very little is used. We are only using less than 10% of our brains. The rest is too much to be wasted. Let's use it for God's purposes only. When you do that, you'll be surprised how much it is going to bless us. I told you that we have a lot of learning to do, and new neuron pathways can be created. I know you are going to have an understanding of this, and thank you very much for listening. May God bless you. Amen.